I met Christie when I moved to Vermont. She was the main and I think only occupational therapist at the time at Central Vermont, and that was over 20 years ago. She really was the pioneer of occupational therapy at Central Vermont Medical Center, and probably Central Vermont, period.
When I first met Christie, and I think it was in 1999, Christie, I think was, if I remember correctly, one of maybe 2 OTs, so the department was outpatient OT, so the department was pretty small back then.
I started as a student. She definitely was one of the therapists that stuck out as knowing a lot, and found myself being like, I need to make sure I get on her good side to get all of her good information.
I first met Christie my very first week in practice here in September of 1995. She was a shaker and a mover at getting the hand clinic that I had at the time up and running. She was just on top of it all and really incredibly fun to work with.
She's, like I say, she's a very, very special individual, and we're very fortunate.
I first met Christie in 2006 when I joined the CVMC team, and I felt like Christie was super welcoming and kind of took me under her wing.
I remember first meeting Christie when we were still working, the entire department was still in the hospital on the 2nd floor. We're outpatient and inpatient therapy all there. Small little office. I mean, it was all of us in one office. It's probably the same size as one of the pods we have now.
She took it upon herself to literally build the occupational therapy program from the ground up. Through her career, she's literally have been the advocate for occupational therapy in Central Vermont.
You know, she's a caring person and definitely a friendly person, and cares about her patients, cares about her coworkers. A good person to be around.
She's compassionate about her work and about her patients, and just making sure everybody is, okay.
Whenever you had a question about a hand or forearm, she was just a wealth of knowledge.
Christie is definitely known for her research. She's always sending us good research articles, adamant about educating everybody around her about occupational therapy, because it's not a profession that everybody knows about. Christie is hand certified, so she went through a whole new certification, took a very intensive exam for getting certified as a hand therapist. And there's only very few of those in the state of Vermont.
And it was a very challenging exam process, and I think it took a couple tries because it was so challenging, but she stayed at it.
That was a big thing in the area, to have our own certified hand therapist.
Going the extra mile for the patients. There's so much that is a challenge if you have a hand problem, and she is just wonderful at helping patients at any level of function. Really the epitome of a perfect hand therapist.
Christie has always kind of embraced that mentorship or that mentor role. She loves the profession. She loves to relay that profession to other people, and I think she loves to embrace and bring that knowledge forward as best as she can.
And Christie likes to take care of her own co-workers, and speaking of, this is a Christie splint.
Well, I've always really admired her innovation with splinting, which is very specific to OT. She's always bringing in tennis rackets or hockey sticks or golf clubs to really simulate doing something with the splint on that she's made for them, or just part of the training for getting back to those sports that they really enjoy.
So I remember when I started in rehab, Christie somehow pulled together a plan to do a swap where she would go to Australia as a OT for a year and then have another OT come to CVMC for a year. She was always kind of making sure that it's fresh for her.
I always think about her love for animals. Early on in my career here, she had a therapy dog and brought Taz to our clinic to serve that role, which was really always fun. Her family is very important to her son Isaac and her husband.
Recently, my wife and I were biking, and we were in Middlesex by Red Hen, and Christie and her husband Todd pull up on bikes, and Christie has a new electric bike. She was having a blast, and I think Todd had to work extra hard to keep up with her.
She's the one that will have a card for you, and try to organize something outside the work to have a little drink or have a little food somewhere. And when there's like the race, the corporate car race, she's the one's like, hey, come over to my place before and after for a little party afterwards.
One of our first OT outings, I had just had a baby, and so she's like, bring your baby along. She would always love to test their reflexes, so even outside of work, she still has her knowledge that she can't let go of and loves to just use it and utilize it.
She is a caring individual. She's a very good listener. And she's funny. She can be a rebel in disguise, so I enjoy her friendship.
Christie has a huge heart.
Another thing I really appreciate about Christie is not being shy around challenging questions. And they're great questions, and she is brave enough to express herself, and I've always really appreciated that.
I'm grateful for her friendship. She really helped me a lot. So she's just been there.
Cannot say enough about how fortunate I feel to have been able to practice with Christie for these last 30-odd years.
Thank you, Christie, for paving the way for occupational therapists, for certified hand therapists, and really for our CVMC occupational therapy community.
I hope that we get to keep working together as much as possible because it benefits everyone. Thank you, Christie.
Christie, congratulations on 35 years. You're a better woman than I am, honey. The good thing I would say is don't retire before me, because then I will be the oldest person working here.
Wow, Christie, 35 years of being an occupational therapist at Center Vermont Rehab. I want to thank you for being a great mentor, supporting us in our adventures here, and always having a smile on your face when you're at work.
Hey Christie, thank you for all the care you've done for our patients and being a wonderful colleague over the years. You've been a great person. Thanks for all the times you had us over for the corporate cup at your house, and thanks for everything. Look forward to seeing you on the bike trail.
35 years, that's awesome. That's, more than any of us in here have been doing, so fantastic. Thank you so much for being the mentor that you are, for hanging out, and for being the pillar of who we are as a department, honestly. It's without you building the foundation of our department, I don't know that we would be anywhere close to, the awesome department that we are now.
Christie, you're an absolutely special person. You have been a pleasure, an absolute pleasure to be a friend and a co-worker. You are awesome, but you can't retire.